Have a great day, disciples. May your day be filled with many wonderful moments throughout the day. Hoping for something new that brings a bright future. Let's start now. In the last video, we covered the functionality of scalars and vectors in R, right? Vectors are stored in the memory similar to C. You can index the elements in a vector, extract subsets of vectors, sort and perform routine mathematical operations over vectors element-wise. We shall now look at the next part of the creation of vectors in R language. In the last video, we have learned how to create a vector using C function. Now let's try to learn how to create a vector using scan function. Here's an example. Let's create a vector named x with elements 10.4, 5.6, 3.1, 6.4 and 21.7. It's very simple. First enter data elements separated by spacebar, and at the end of the entering press enter key twice. R language provides us the functionality to dynamically calculate values and assign them to vectors. Here's an example. In this example, we can observe that the second element of the vector is 5 multiplied to 8 and third element of the vector is 9 divided by 4. From this, it's clear that an expression consisting of arithmetic operations can also be assigned as an element to a vector. We can also create vectors using pre-created variables or pre-existing vectors. Let us see examples for both. Here's an example where I created a vector named vector2, where I assigned the variable values a, b, c. And you can see the outcome of vector 2. And we can also create a vector by using pre-existing vectors. In the previous slides, I have shown you how to create the vector 1, vector 2. By using the vectors, we are going to create another vector 3 as shown on the screen, and you can observe the outcome. Vectors can have any number of items of the same data type. We cannot mix data types when we are creating vectors in R. And as we discussed in the earlier video, the elements of a vector can be extracted by using their index in a manner similar to accessing array elements. And when we try accessing an element beyond the vector size, R returns an non-applicable value. And here is an example for that. Here x is a vector which is assigned the values 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I am trying to get or to access an element beyond the vector size, here the size is only 4 elements, but I am trying to get an element 6. So that is why the outcome of this is not applicable. That you can observe on the slide. Now, let's move to the next part. Vectors can be repeated by using REP function. The usage of REP is illustrated in this example. Here you can see I assigned a value 1 to x and I have given a parameter or argument times is equal to 5, and the outcome is 1 is repeated 5 times. This is how to use the repeated function to create a vector. Here's another example where I used a repeated function to create a vector by using a vector. First of all, let us create a vector x which is assigned the values 2, 5, 8, 9, and then you can observe here I used two types of arguments. One is times is equal to 5. When I used that, y outcome, if you observe, the x vector is repeated 5 times. All elements together, it is repeated 5 times. When you see the next example, second example, z is the vector which is given an argument each is equal to 5. There, the outcome is each element of x is repeated 5 times. This is how to use the repeated function in R. Okay, now let's see how to sort the vectors in R. Vectors can be sorted in ascending order or descending order using sort function. And here is an example. I took vector 1 for sorting. When I am taking here argument or parameter decreasing is equal to false, you can see by default we are going to get an ascending order for the sort function. If suppose we are required to get a descending order for the vector, then we are supposed to consider decreasing is equal to true, where true all caps, false also all caps. So in the first case, we need not to give their decreasing is equal to false, that argument even we are not using also, we are going to get an outcome for that. Whereas in the second case, especially when you want descending order, for sure you have to give an argument decreasing is equal to true. I hope you understood this. Oftentimes we deal with the data from a data set we download off the internet. We read entire columns into vector variables and may not be aware of the dimensions beforehand. In these cases, the length will be an important parameter to know so that we don't run into non-applicable values when working with data. The length of a vector can be known using length function, as shown here. We can use the syntax length length followed by open parenthesis in which vector is specified for which length to be found. This is all about today's video. I hope you all understood. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you all for watching this video.